There are some people that when things happen in their lives, they just don't want to deal with them. Instead, they tend to take the things and they internalize them, and then somehow they think that by doing so, they'll never have to deal with them. Unfortunately, just stuffing things doesn't make it go away. Instead, it seems to make it intensify over time. So today we're going to talk about this emotional house of horrors that the majority of us build deep within us when we stuff things instead of process things. So let's check it out. When things happen in our life, if we don't process them, then we tend to internalize them, and as a result, they slowly build up over time. I've talked to people in their 60s and their 70s that have told me, why do I have to deal with this stuff now? I thought that when it happened, I could just stuff it, it wouldn't come back, and now I'm finding that I can't handle it. So what's going on? Well, to really understand what happens to all the things that we internalize, we kind of have to go back about 100 years and brush off some archaic psychological theories. There was a theorist named Sigmund Freud. Now, before you say anything, yes, Sigmund Freud was a little bit strange. He had all kinds of issues and had all kinds of very strange theories. But every once in a while, Freud came up with a theory that really made a lot of sense. And his theory of the person, in particular, is one theory that I find to be really true. So to really understand his theory, you kind of have to understand a house and how a house looks. Not so much a Florida house, but more like an up north sort of house. So to truly get a picture of this, I'm going to have to dust off my artistic skills, and believe it or not, they're not the best. So we're going to give it a shot. So I'm going to grab my little whiteboard, and we're going to try to explain Freud's theory. So Freud was a really big person in trying to get us to understand the deeper things of life. So he used a person in terms of a house. So you have to imagine a house. That's the attic. The main part of the house, right? And then there's the basement. So you have the basement, the main part of the house, and the attic. The attic he called the superego. The main part of the house he called the ego. And then the basement he called the id. And this is kind of what he said. So in the attic part of our personality, this is the very best of us. So like if you won $1 billion, right? You'd fly over to the Bahamas and you would give them all of the money, help them rebuild all the islands, you would wipe out hunger, and you'd give your last penny, your last bit of food, and you'd probably starve to death, right? So the superego is the very, very best of you. Now, the id, or the basement, is like the stereotypical horror movie. This is the very worst of you. So in here are cobwebs. This is where all the chainsaws are. These are all the horror movies. This is a very bad place to be. So what typically happens is when things happen in our life, things that happen that were bad, we chuck them into the basement. Or things that happen that we don't want to think about ever again, we chuck them into the basement, right? And there's this door that goes down into the basement, right? And we open the door, we throw it in there, and we slam it shut, and we hope to never deal with it again. Well, our personhood, right, that people see is a direct result of the pressure from the basement and the attic. So they play off each other, creating the main part of the house. And that's what people see. So as we go through life, this is the mask, in a sense, that we present to the world, because we really don't want anybody to know what's down here. But here's the problem. The stuff that's down here grows. So we may throw something little in, but left unchecked, right, it starts to grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And in time, it has more power. So we open the door, throw stuff in, shut it, hope it goes away. Throw more stuff in, more stuff in, more stuff in. And then what happens is eventually over time, the door to the basement starts to get frayed. It doesn't stay shut, especially when we lay down to go to sleep. That's when that sucker pops open. And whatever's in the basement tends to come up and escape into our dreams. The stuff in the basement, right? The stuff in the id has incredible power. And that's why we have to deal with it. Dealing with the stuff in the basement involves opening the door and taking inventory. What's in our basement? So I usually tell people, look, when you're in a place, a safe place, open up that door and look in. Write down all the things that have ever happened to you in life. Write down the things that you just don't want to think about, you don't want to process, you don't want to be there, and make a list. Just write them all out, because those are the things that in time you're gonna have to process. Now, you want to process them either with a counselor or somebody that really knows what they're doing, or you want to write and do a lot of self-awareness and self-reflection. You don't want to just stumble in there. And you don't want to just open up this whole mess and then close it back down. And then open it up and close it back down. Because every time you bring stuff up and then throw it back down and shut the door, it makes it worse. It's not going to make it any better. So if you open up the door, you've got to process through the basement. As you process through the things in there, they start to lose their power. So, what type of things do you have in this horror movie basement of your life? Because those are the things that are kind of growing and influencing you in many different ways. And to truly find peace, true inner peace, you have to work through those things in your basement. So, make a list and start to work through them. If you have any questions about it, in the comments below, reach out to us. I will get back to you. And if you think this video could help somebody, share it. If you think it's good, like it. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Because remember, we do all of this because we believe making ourselves into the best us that we can be, the best me that I can be, together, then we are able to change the world. And more than anything, we want to change our world for the best. Thanks for listening. Doc out.